Welcome back to Linked by Golf, the podcast exploring the journeys of people linked by the game. I'm your host Ross McGuire, and this week I'm joined by Alex Cooper, one of the founders of the Elite Amateur Golf Group. In this episode, we discuss Alex's love of the game, his own golfing journey, and get into the details of the competitions the Elite Amateur Golf Group are running. Let's get over to Alex. Hey Alex, great to see you. Thanks for joining the pod.
Great to see you, Ross, as well. Nice to catch up.
And Alex, we're going to jump straight into, you've just come back from the final of the Elite Amateur Golf League in Cala, Spain. So talk the listeners through at a high level what that week was like and what happens in that final.
It was. It's been great, to be honest with you. Just sort of getting back to reality again after all the excitement of that final. So we were in Cala in Mijas for the finals this year, which was a venue we went back to in 2023. It was actually a repeat final as well. Two big clubs in Hindhead and Woburn going head to head again. So I mean, the final for us is everything ramps up towards that, Ross, anyway. So it's a long season starting in sort of March time, through group stages into the knockouts, and then with the grand finals obviously being abroad, which was an introduction we brought in about 3 years ago in total. In that time as well, we've got other finals that are going along with the main grand final of the league campaign. We've got the 4-ball, better ball final, singles knockout final, and the foursomes final as well. So there's a nice plethora of formats and people. And the nice thing is we got a lot of spectators joining as well. So they all want to see who's going to walk away with the bright hot pink jackets on at the end of the calendar year, so to speak.
That's brilliant. And listen, we've jumped straight into the final, but where we want to start, Alex, is what about yourself? Where did your interest for golf start? And we'll go through your journey, get into the league. So where did it begin for you?
Very young age, actually. Back north of the border, like yourself, back just outside Edinburgh. My home club was West Linton, just into the borders, not far from probably better known areas of Peebles. Joined the golf club from the age of 4. I had a golf club in my hand from 9 months of some description, plastic clubs into wooden hickories, old greenkeeper sheds, knocking things up from my dad, just anything to put in my hands to get playing. Very fortuitous being at the club that I was at because, we produced a lot of good players. So I suppose the aspiring aspect is you had people to emulate. Some names that we mentioned on the podcast over the last 12 months with yourself, like Simon McKenzie, Scott Walker, Gareth Wright, who's gone on the pro ranks. So we're very fortunate. Not loads of other county players, Stevie Smith, Grant Douglas. I could keep going. We had a very, very good, strong foundation, and really part of the main reason is, like a lot of people, parents, in it. So my dad was in all sorts of sport. He was a sports journalist when he was younger, golf and football predominantly, and we've played both sports from a young age. Could never make my mind up what I wanted to do. Maybe if I stuck at one of them, I might have been better at them. But got a little bit involved in the Lothians in my teens, but never really pushed on at an elite level myself, per se. I mean, I've been fortunate enough to win, Order of Merit events as a junior and things. So, played with good players. David Ingalls, again, another one. Dropping names here, but David's dad actually ran our football team. So I played a lot of golf
Right.
with David before he moved off to Texas in his collegiate career, which was obviously, as we know, was very successful and led him into the coaching game. So we've all gone off in our different sort of ways. But yeah, father's influence really. Got trophies, that were put up at my joining, me joining the golf club. That trophy still runs with my name on it. So there's a little bit of
Wow. There
history
you
amongst
go.
the club there, which is nice. Yeah.
Brilliant. And then we've gone back in time a little bit, Alex, but just to give a bit of background to listeners about yourself. So the Elite Amateur Golf League, what was the concept? Why did you start it? What's behind it? What's the driving force here?
To be honest with you, it came about after moving down south. dabbled in getting back into golf in a way after you start work in your early 20s, finished university and things, and had a bit of a gap, and then got back into it. And through moving through different clubs, I ended up at where I'm back now at Clarendon. I have had little periods at Hindhead for a few years as well. So, um, but being at Clarendon got me back into competitive golf. And I suppose, yeah, it's elite golf, it's scratch golf at the end of the day, so it is into that elite bracket. We know the percentages there around, the lower handicaps and across the UK and the globe, that is a small category for golf. But we had a very good scratch team, bringing a couple of youngsters through. I played in that, and we were lucky enough to win the Surrey Plate, which is the lesser of the two that were going, but still, it's still a difficult one to win in its own right. So we just found, or I found myself there going, what else do we do? As a team, as a collective, and as a club, there's nothing else to play in. So you're left, if you're drawn, you know, knockout competitions, if you're drawn away from home first round against, pick somebody that's been in one of our finals, a Hind or a Woburn, and you're knocked out, you're left scratching your head for what to do in the season. So I looked around, I suppose at the market, if you want to call it that, what was available to us. What else could we get involved in to try and bring some of these youngsters through? I was probably in my early 30s at the time, and so I'm going out the other side. There's guys coming through, but there was just nothing. The only thing we could find was an inter-county scratch golf league, um, sort of north of the M25, which involved actually Woburn, Stoke Park, um, Millride, and numerous other clubs. And it was a league format, so it was a promotion relegation, but it involved a lot of players and a lot of time.
Right.
And they wouldn't let us in. Not no disrespect to them, they wouldn't let us in. We were too far south, and I just thought this is crazy. From the clubs that we are lucky to be blessed with in the south of England, especially across, well, coming from the county of Surrey myself, how many clubs. I was involved a bit with the Surrey A team as well, so I knew all the clubs. I'd networked quite well within our county in particular, and a bit into Kent and Hampshire. So we just thought, do you know what? Let's just try it. Let's go for it. Let's set this up. So in 2017, it was originally founded as the Southern County Scratch Golf League. That was the original name for it, which sort of
Right.
says what it does on the tin in a way. And I think nothing's easy to start with, is it? But it was just a case of simply picking the phone up, sending emails, phoning clubs, especially ones we knew. That helped, obviously. And we got a bit of traction. And year one was 15 clubs, which now looking back doesn't seem like a lot, but it was a starting point for what was to come, and the transition into what we've got now.
And so that first year, what did it look like then? So you had 15 clubs. How did it split out? What was the kind of format you started with originally, Alex, in terms of playing?
Quite similar in a way, to be honest with you. It's not it's evolved, but it was a six-man team as opposed to where we are now with a five-man team. And I'll explain the reasons and changes for that. The aim was to get 20 clubs, um, groups of five. And again, it's a bit like the Champions League format for ease of conversation. Everyone sort of understands that it's group stages. You know, we play home and away in this case, and then top top qualifier goes through to the knockout stages, and it went through from that. And luckily, one of the clubs that year, at the very early knock-ins, offered us the course for the final, helped us with it, from a cost and an outlay point of view. Um, and that was the Neville. And it's a bit like the Champions League, and it sometimes you get lucky, you get home advantage in the final, and that's what happened to them that year. But they had a very good side. They had a lot of Sussex players playing that year, um, and they played Reigate Hill in the final that year and won. So they were the first ones to etch their name on what is now becoming a little bit more historical trophy.
Yeah, and So one of the things I remember you saying is, excuse me, and these things exist in some respects elsewhere, different counties, etc., in England, I'm sure may have a similar format. But I think what you'd reflected on before was that in the Edinburgh area, for example,
Yeah,
there's a really successful summer league and a winter league actually, and you split into groups. The winners of the groups get together. I think there's a semi-final, then there's a final. Then the winner of the Edinburgh League actually plays the
please.
winner of the
Yeah,
Glasgow League, right?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think it's great that you've elaborated in that format because back in Scotland that would be like 10-man teams, I think, back in the day, and
I think
a
it, but
lot
do
of
you know what,
games and
Ross?
all of that.
It did. It started out, I think, as 10 man. I think today it's sitting at an 8 man. And
Right.
I was unfortunate being at West Linton because we tried to get into that league, and you'll probably know yourself from playing in it back in Dalmahoy days that it wasn't. It was a one in, one out job, and it was very hard to get into. And West Linton at the time, we had, as I said, some of those players. We had an unbelievable team, and we could not get in. Um, so they
Wow.
actually got in just as I was leaving Scotland, unfortunately. So I
Right.
never got to fulfill, playing in that, but obviously very, very aware of it. We knew it was prestigious. Um, especially some of the clubs up there that are repeated winners, like the Burgess, etc. So that's where the concept came from me, and that's where I pulled in the MVP. That's where the most valued player came from. So scoring system very, very
Right.
similar. So I've taken a lead from that Edinburgh Golf League, from the county I was playing in anyway, the Edinburgh side. But the differences that we've brought in is we've taken down and we go by county borders, more district borders up the north, but we take the county borders down. So we're trying to get cross the border lines. So you're playing clubs that you don't play every day. Woburn could play Hindhead. Woburn could play Bearwood Lakes, or West Sussex could be in the same group as Rowlands Castle. You're suddenly playing clubs and players that you just don't come face to face with within your normal county setup, and it's not just a straight knockout. So you have got a group competition, um, which gives you that social element, which is equally as important to the level of golf you're playing. And we're fortunate enough now that a lot of these clubs who have played each other over the last 5 or 6 years, they've actually got together collectively. They have friendly matches that they arrange on their own back. So it's really growing the sort of golfing network for us. Um, and you might get one or two players that will go and practice at other courses. So it really opens up that space. You know, as I say, breaking down those borderlines really.
And so is it the same 5 teams that the or the same teams each club would play each year? Or do you change that round as well? Is there a bit of rotation within reason for distance and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what we did probably about 4 or 5 years ago now, we did do completely random draw, and we'd rather be transparent. This is why it's good to come on and talk about it, really, because we try and be as transparent as we can. I think people understand it's not as simple as just pulling numbers out of a hat. I mean, we could be travelling up and down England here, because I would say our most northerly club would be the likes of Enfield, and then we have clubs down in Brighton. So it's quite a gap, an area and a territory, and we populate this all onto like a Google map, so you can see the sort of heat maps ourselves, where they're coming from, where they, what they do year on year. Um, but Yeah, so there's travel involved. So we do random, we do the draw, and then you have to just sort of redraw a little bit to the point where you get the travel allowances right. We try and keep it within an hour, as best we can. It doesn't always work bang on the button, but might be a 5 minutes over either side, but it's there or thereabouts.
And just to paint a picture for the listeners, I hope I'm right in saying Enfield Golf Club is near Birmingham.
Yeah, it's not
So you're
far. Yeah,
talking
we have.
the difference between Birmingham
Yeah,
and Brighton is
yeah,
quite was it 200 miles or something? It can't be far off
yeah,
200, is
yeah.
it? Maybe a wee bit
It's
more
got to
actually.
be. It could be more than that. Actually, might be between 200 and 230, maybe in that ballpark off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I used to travel a lot across England from my real day-to-day job. So, but yeah, I mean, we've got Felixstowe Ferry. We've had over towards the Kendalshire. So they do span quite a big block in the south of England. We've been fortunate. We have had entries down in Trevose. The difficulty where we are, well, not difficulty, the nice position, I suppose, in a way where we are at the moment, but equally causes decision making to be taken on board is where we want to grow it. We want to move it up the country, and I've spoken to recently in the last 3-4 weeks. I've spoken to clubs in Scotland, players that are playing in clubs in Scotland that are part of the Lothian setup, part of Gullen, etc. Because we'd like to go back in there. No, I don't want to step on the toes of the Edinburgh Golf League, because I know the history behind it, but maybe it's something anyone listening to this can reach out as well, and we'd be very open to conversation, because for me golf is very historical. It's about the legacy that we leave behind. It's the same as having a board in your golf club. Why do we play sport? I don't know. Everyone's got their own take on that. My personal view on it is I want to leave my name up there, so it's there long after I'm gone. At the end of the day, it's a bit silverware. Um, Amateurs don't play it for money for that reason. We're there to win. I know pros are there to win, but they're lucky to pick up the checks at the same time. So I think we'd like to do that. We also been able to blood a lot of juniors coming through. We're seeing, what was it again? Probably 4 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. We started running independent matches. I don't want to get off the subject too much, but we run matches. We created an all-star team where we played against Surrey and Hampshire, and we could select an 8-man team to take on what they deem as the county's finest. We were very fortunate to be able to pick from, an elite group of golfers that we've been able to watch and see and take point scoring from. And we picked an 8-man team that came in, and we turned over Surrey in a heavy way. I won't go into the results too much, but
Nice.
but from that we met new people, and that allows us connection with the golf clubs again. So from there we took Zach Chegwigden. We brought him on as our first ever ambassador for the brand. It was at the same time when we rebranded around, from Southern Counties to the Elite Amateur Golf, which we feel depicts more about what we're about. It tells the story. It's not just Southern we want to be UK national eventually. And Zach had a fantastic year, and I think it shows confidence in backing somebody. And I think Zach would be able to tell you that himself. He's maybe one to have a chat with at some point in the future, Ross. But he's now in the Sunshine Tour, so he's progressed really well through his career as we started working with him. First year won the Berkshire, south of England. He finished second at the Brab. He shot course record at the Brabazon at Ganton. And he became an England home international on multiple occasions. But the nice thing at the beginning, before he had all his England outfit on, he's wearing our badge, and it's nice to see our badge
Brilliant.
out there. So that got recognition with England Golf. Then you speak to Graham Walkers, and you're into the right camps where you want to be. I mean, we believe strongly, Will and I. Will's been with me year 2, so Will's a huge part of what we do. It's not me that's doing it on my own. Far from it. It's a complete partnership, and the good thing is we both see eye to eye on predominantly everything we do, which makes working with somebody much easier. But I believe in what we've got, and we could give an England closed door game. We can put people in the limelight that are just on the plethoras of these squads that it could give them it could give England options, it could give them options. So it's creating a platform to better themselves as well.
Yeah, and just circling back on a few things, Alex. So, the point in the history, just to go back over it, you're not trying to replace any other league, and you haven't done that in the Southeast either, or anywhere else for
No.
that matter. So, the Surrey County Leagues are still going, and that's a knockout
Yeah.
situation. Hampshire's
Yeah.
still got Hampshire and a little bit of crossover of other counties. I think it's Berkshire and Dorset, maybe others, has got the Stag. The Stag still goes on.
Yeah.
That's a knockout format. That's still
Yeah.
there. So what you're saying is you've got this opportunity for people if they've got the time and if they want to do it, here's another league you can play in. And
Yeah,
the difference, I think, for you is typically it's the weekends, right? You're typically like a weekend format. You've only got
yeah,
4 games. I know back home in Scotland, for example, in the Lanarkshire League, I think there was normally 6 teams in the league, and it was
yeah.
always midweek games. It was home and away, so you're actually talking 10 games. It's a lot of commitment during the summer.
It
But
is.
for you,
It is.
it's kind of supplemental. You've got 4 games you need to arrange maybe over the summer, and it's weekends and stuff like that. If you've been enjoying the show, please do remember to follow on your favourite podcast platform and share it with a friend. Now let's get back to the pod. And then the other part is, and we didn't even touch the number, how many teams have you got in the league overall?
Overall, we've sat at 80 by choice as much as anything else, because we've gone past it on one occasion a couple of years ago, but it's that fine point of you want an even number, an even distribution. You go into a new area, you need probably 20 clubs to kick that area off. So a target audience now for us would be Yorkshire. Yorkshire, I think, has got 182 clubs. It's the biggest county in
Wow,
England in terms of clubs. So it's one that
that's huge, eh? That's
to
massive.
not even be, yeah, it's massive, and to not even be touching that for us is crazy. When we know how strong Yorkshire are as a county, we know how strong Scotland is as a country, and obviously a smaller country at that. But the count, like you say, the Edinburgh League, the Glasgow leagues, Lanarkshire, and all that. You're talking about some of the best golfers in the country. So we that was part of it. Is the time, the squad numbers are high. And what I believe, by having the squad numbers that high, you are eliminating the competitive nature a lot of the time. Not always, but a lot of the time. So not every club is blessed to have 8+ golfers or scratch golfers or better. So by bringing it down to 5, it makes it much more an equal playing field, brings about clubs into it that might not be in it in the past.
That is a great point. I
Yeah,
hadn't thought about that, Alex. So if you take, and I'll just throw some Surrey County names out there: Sunningdale, Wentworth,
yeah,
probably got, it could be 50 players that play off scratch or better or more,
yeah, yeah. Well,
versus another, I won't name another club, but another club that's got a couple of guys off a scratch, maybe a couple off one, and then their
yeah,
next lowest handicap's 3, 4. But if you took a team of 10, you're going to struggle to beat a Sunningdale or a Wentworth. But actually, if you take a team of 5, you've got 2 really strong players at the front, and then anybody in their day, as you know, in match play, you've got a real good chance of winning. That's brilliant. I hadn't really thought
yeah.
about that until you said it there.
And the other thing on that as well, again, Ross, you played in the Surrey stuff here in Farnham and where you've been, but it's 5-man as well in Surrey as an example. But Surrey force you to play in handicap order, which again I disagree with. What's the point of having a captain? What's the point of me fielding the captain when there is no captain duties apart from picking up the blower and making a call, right, we're playing here, that's it. Well, the team's going to take care of itself. As soon as I picked it, it's done. So it is about tactics. It's about where do you place your strong men? Where do you place your weak men? Do you put a lamb to the slaughter? It's all part of it. So that's the other thing. So it's really down to the captains to decide how they lay the team out. Are they away from home? How do you think the opposition are going to come out? So I think that's a big part of it as well. So that's why even if if we're fortunate enough to keep growing and get up into Yorkshire, getting up into the north of the country, and then into Scotland, which obviously would be a sweet spot for me, being the home for us. But it could be different. It could run alongside it. And it is a weekend competition, like you say. Like using the Scottish example, they play on a Tuesday night, and getting there after work, that's not practical for everyone these days. Everyone's lives are changing and the world's changing at the same time. So, but weekend golf predominantly still works.
And the thing that's nice, Alex, is a lot of the 36-hole competitions are disappearing, even back up the road
Yeah,
in Scotland. There's so many 36 holes have become 18 or completely disappeared. So as much as folks might think, oh, hey, that's a weekend commitment I've got. Well, maybe if the choice now is, do you know what? I could go with the guys, 4 other guys in the team. We go and play a really nice course somewhere against another group of guys. Have a bit of crack, a bit of fun. Maybe we win, maybe we don't, but we're guaranteed 4 of them over a couple of month period. And actually, I don't necessarily need to go to that 36-hole competition and be completely away for the day. You can be a kind of day out that's less stressed in terms of trying to play 36 holes as well. That's a great thing, while still giving you really competitive golf against a good player.
No, absolutely, absolutely, and you're sparking my mind back to literally a week ago or 2 weeks ago now when we were in Spain. We've been discussing, actually spoken to, we've been lucky as well. I'm going to mention some of the sponsors here, but TaylorMade and Motorcaddy in particular are backed us now for the last few years, which have been fantastic. And what we're discussing with them at the moment is to run 4 18-hole events this year, for along the lines of what you're saying. Most people into their 30s and into their 40s who still want to take the golf seriously. It's a lot of golf. It's a long day. We've all done it. We're up at 5 on the tee for 7:30, eating your sandwich on the first tee, back out again. I don't think a lot of people want to do that. And from speaking to most of our community, yeah, the young lads do it because they've got the energy, but they're still playing against good players. And actually, having this 18-hole, we'll call it a sprint order of merit, and we hope to do something with each of those sponsors. So we'll make it a very sponsored oriented day and pull in the, from our network, and our audience, pulling these 4 18-hole events across the year, which will create an order of merit, which is something we can tie in with other people. Those winners could go on to play in, I don't know, clutch or other things that you can propel them. So this is where we can grow and intertwine with other people, so we can all help one another. Which is, for me, what the golf community is about.
I think the other thing you touched on there was younger players getting a chance as well, and one of the things that was great at my own club up the road, at some point they decided that they were going to just try and get more of the younger guys, and this is a long time ago, obviously for me, like more than 30 years ago now. But they, I guess, took a bit of a risk and said, right, we're going to start playing basically juniors in the team. Started us off, most times you'd play, it used to have reserve matches and stuff, so we had 10-man team plus 2 reserves, and you would play against a couple of guys, most cases who were more experienced than us, like, guys that had families and stuff, and we're out there at 16, 17, 18, just
Yeah.
messing about effectively. But it was great for our team, actually. It meant that you got that experience of playing people, you got to develop yourself, you got to play with better players. But certainly that your league gives that opportunity. Maybe they take one, maybe they just commit to, do you know what, we're going to take one really good junior with us, so that
Well,
we don't need to have our entire team, because some clubs might think that way. We don't need to have our entire team blooded with younger folk that maybe don't have the experience or maybe don't want to be there potentially, whatever the situation is. But they can mix that in and out and have some real good fun for kids that are coming through into their own teams as well.
I think a lot of people take the same approach to what I'm about to say, in terms of, if you're good enough, you're old enough. In any sport really.
Absolutely.
We're not talking about handicap golf. We've chosen, you know, e- elite scratch or better golf. It's, have to be scratch 1, 2, but I mean, we'll call it cat 1 and down. Um, and the reason for that is because that market, or that level of handicap, or that level of golfer, predominantly if they're playing just normal club golf, and I can vouch for it myself, they go, oh, we know being a 1 and scratch golfer, that is not, doesn't make us a good golfer in who we're trying to play with. So, but at the club level, you're still deemed as your top 10 minimum, and but that's all you've got to play in is your club championship, and maybe a stroke play, and if you're lucky, you might have a match play. But most clubs don't even have a stroke play these days. Even those have eroded because they don't have an audience for it. So you've got your club championships, you've got one event of the year. Beyond that, you've got nothing else to play in, unless you want to go, like we were saying earlier, or you mentioned earlier, about traveling 36-hole events, cross counties, national events. And most people, again, working people, kids, it doesn't allow us all to do that. So we give you something that overcomes that problem and those difficulties.
The other thing as well is, as much as, and I totally agree with you, Alex, if you're good enough, you're old enough. I still reflect on some of the games I had when I was a junior playing in the senior team, and I'd be
Yep.
playing a guy who was probably the age I am now, and I thought he was about 70, right?
We've all been there.
But you're playing this person who's maybe heading for retirement or already there. And I've got vivid memories of playing guys who were off maybe the same handicap, like 3 at the time, say,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
honestly like 60, maybe 65 years old. And I'm hitting it at times 120 past them off the tee, and I'm getting absolutely dusted.
Yeah.
So the point of that is you actually learn there's a different side to the game. It's not just
Yeah.
about smashing it off the tee. It's not just about how great you can hit your irons. It's not even great. It doesn't even matter if you're a great putter. It's if you've smashed it in the trees, right, what are you doing? Are you trying and hit the hero shot? Are you smart about it? Are you looking at where your opponent is? You can pick up so much. Plus, you're gonna get people chirping in your ear if they're experienced, know the
Yeah.
ways of the world, the dark arts. It prepares you and helps you for games you'll have in the future. So that's a great way for younger people or folk who are developing their game to learn as well, is just playing against different categories of player within the category of you Cat 1 golfers. There's
Yeah.
different ways
No,
that people
absolutely.
approach the game.
No, absolutely. I mean, like you say, golf's a results business. There's so many ways to get there. I've seen the best swing it, unbelievable. Doesn't mean to say they're the best golfers, or the results will indicate that. So yeah, especially as a youngster, like you say, you learn to hit these knockdown 8 irons instead of try to flush a sandwich or a wedge. What is the percentage shots? You know what I mean? It's trying to get that old head on a young shoulder as quick as possible, and that's where the younger generation will benefit. The ones that take that on board quickly are the ones that generally go on to bigger and better things at a good acceleration rate. But I mean, we've had lads as young as 14 playing in the league. We're talking about plus two
That's
golfers
awesome.
here. We're not
That's
talking about,
brilliant.
and it's good. And we get some of them going, oh, we have to put a limit on it. But we had one last season saying, oh, it's 13. I've got no problem with that. Obviously, we have to safeguard because of where we
Yeah,
are
of
now
course.
in the world, unfortunately. But we make allowances for that. We just say, look, you've got to play in a four ball, or if their dad's walking around, that's fine. We're not into saying you can't have caddies because they're X or Y. So that gives the surrounding that they need to be able to let them compete. I'm not here to put blockades up. We're actually trying to take like I said earlier, we're trying to take the barriers down
That
for
used to be
this
a
level
great
of
thing.
golf.
I'm sure you've done it yourself, caddying for one of your pals in a junior game, caddying for one of
Yeah,
your pals in a
yeah.
senior game. It's a brilliant way to get folk involved as well. Used to be
Oh,
great fun doing
my
that.
dad caddied for me, my under 15 club champs at Westland, and he caddied for me in Sweltering Heat, 36 holes one day. But the memories you get to keep, don't you? So as well, so rather than just watching, they're involved. So no, it's good. It's great.
Yeah, and we touched on the final at the start, Alex, and we built back up to where the I don't want to say finished off, but the season completed very recently for you.
Yeah,
So let's talk a wee bit more in detail about the final and what actually happened on the days you were there in Cala.
there was a bit of panic 48 hours before because we one of the clubs, Woburn, actually led by Justin. And Justin and Woburn as a club, pass on thanks to them and a lot of the other clubs, not just them, but they're as a club, they're very supportive of what we've done because we've given them something that their club can completely get on board with. So they enter the foursomes, the singles, everything. But Justin's, again, older head, younger squad, and that's where the two marry up really well. And he had them out early. So they were out maybe 3 days before we landed, practicing. But unfortunately, their practice probably didn't go to plan. Um, but they made the preparations the right way. And there was a lot of rain, as we've all suffered here in the UK at the moment. So the course was looking really, we were apprehensive, is this going to go ahead at one point?
Oh dear.
Something we'd never had before. And part of the reason why we go abroad to sort of protect that from being an issue, but hey, you can't control it above. So so we normally land on a Friday. We all travel out on a Friday, either flying from Gatwick, Heathrow, as a group. Some make their own arrangements. That's their choice. Most of the time we get there, set ourselves up. We do what we call a media day. So we try and run it professionally in an amateur way. So we have photographers, videographers out with us, green screens. They'll take all the graphics. You'll see on our Instagram channel the matchups, so who's playing who. And then we get all that prepped ready for, normally on the Saturday. Saturday's the practice round, and then the Sunday where we roll out the finals. So I mean, as I say, this year we had the grand final, as we call it, which is the league, which for us is always it's been the focal point around what we built everything else around. The nice bolt-ons we brought to other 4-ball, better ball, the singles and things as well, because it gives us again an audience and even brings us in new clubs every year, because those players get involved from other clubs that are maybe not playing in the league, and they get involved in that. They don't have to play with a member from their same club as well. They just have to elect a club that they're going to play from, and then they go, "Oh, do you know what? I want to be involved in the league. I've seen what happens out there."
So you're saying
and then
on
they
the
get them involved.
on the 4-ball side, between the two of you, if you're at two different clubs, you just nominate a
Yeah.
club that is the main club, and you could alternate that each year, right, as pals?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, for example, I could interview you, Ross, next year. We elect what's going to be our home club for the day, and it's only around for the draw purposes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you can't, and then actually we've got no problem in swapping it around if it works better for you and the opposition. Again, this is where we give it a little bit of flexibility. It's not to bend the rules in anyone's favour. It is to make the arrangement of these ties as easy and feasible. Say for example, my course is a clay-based course, which it is. Yours is a heathland. It makes more sense to get the game played. It's not that far apart. So, it's only to protect. If you're a member at Woburn and I'm a member in Brighton, it's not going to necessarily be fair to who you're playing potentially. So, but that then also brings in new clubs and new audience for us in the following years as well, because they get to see what the big final's like. And as I say, 4 years ago, we brought in the pink jacket, the famous. No, actually longer than that. I'm looking back here. We didn't have them here. Do you know what? I've had them as far back as 2019. I just made a note for myself there. So the pink jackets, the hot pink jackets came in just for the captains, and then we decided to take it a bit further, and then it becomes all the players got a pink jacket. So
Brilliant.
hopefully in a few years to come, we're going to have events, or the gala dinner at the final long term could be a bit like the Masters. You got a pink jacket, you're allowed to attend the opening night dinner or things like that, and it's becoming a good thing. It's good from us. You're noticeable. The Woburn guys, they've got the 50th anniversary this year, and they were lucky to go away as victors in 2025, which switched what happened to them in 2023 when they played Hindhead. Hindhead beat them at Cala in 2023. So they've reversed that hoodoo, and so they got their hands on it finally after a bit of effort. But I mean, we've seen even the teams just down to what they wear, the way they're turned out. Going from clubs coming up as very sort of 5 individuals, we'll call it. They're coming up now in team shirts, team bags, team hats, team everything. They'd even have an EAGG branded onto the clobber when they come out to Cala. So it just shows the level of sort of seriousness around how the clubs are taking it. And I know, being a member at Hindhead myself, that this wasn't their prime event. It was the county stuff. And this has become, and I'm not knocking any counties. I love county golf, like I've said, and it's just different. It's the fact that there's a trip to take the squad away for the finals. What we want to do, or what we are going to do in 2026, is we're going to change it a little bit to give more people a taste of that nervous feeling about the semi-final match. We're going to take it back to quarterfinals and give more people a taste of. So we're going to take the semi-finals and the finals out to 2026, so that you put that mouth-watering tie in more people's hands in that knockout segment, because you feel like you're winning going to the finals in the first place, and then the creme de la creme is obviously lifting the trophy like anything. But
So would you be making
you
that like you go on maybe on the Thursday, the semis on the Friday, then the finals on the Saturday, something like that?
but we would still keep it within reason. We still keep it very similar. So what we would probably do is we generally fly early on the Friday.
Right.
So most of them can get a practice round on the Friday, semi-final Saturday, and third, fourth playoff on the Sunday, followed by the final. And it means that you've got one, we've got more people there. Two, you generally get more spectators there, so it makes it more of an amphitheatre. I mean, we've been very lucky. We've seen more and more people come every year, and it's great. I mean, how nice is it to have people from your club, paying their money to fly out to
That's
join their
awesome.
squad and watch
That's
them,
really
and
cool.
it's a really cool thing to see. It really is. And then a lot of them join us for the gala dinner. So a lot of them that came to watch this year will tap us up and say, "Look, can we get involved?" We'd like to see 150 there at some point in the very near future, and it's got bigger and bigger. We're into 60 odd at the dinner, and it's got bigger and bigger every year.
60 odd. I mean, you've only got
Yeah,
10 players plus your other finals, so what,
yeah. So
16 players in total, technically?
20 players were out there this year. 20 players out there this year. So, in fact, actually, Ross, 22, because we take 6 to the final. And the reason
Right.
so it's a 5-man team, but for the final we take 6. And what we've learned from that, because obviously we're going into a resort environment, it's you put 2 in a buggy, you're not having to share with an opposition, which makes sense.
Right.
Resorts want you to fulfill your slots in the tea time, and that's something we don't, you know, not everyone's going to have control of. But it also allows them to bring that extra man in from the squad that it's been in and out all the year, and we think 6 is quite a nice
So
number for the
maybe
final to
somebody
bring an extra one in.
that's played 2 games or something, but isn't
Yeah,
playing the other 2 and stuff. That's
yeah,
brilliant. That's a
or
really good way of
can't be
doing it.
there. So yeah, it's amazing where that 6 months always pops up. But it's worked for the last couple of years well, so we're gonna keep that. So, and also it gives us a very formatted way of running the finals. Whereas as good as the singles and everything is, sometimes they cross over where you might get somebody that's playing the singles and the main final, and that makes it very hard
Right.
to organise what's going on, because how far do you stretch it, and you're limited on time. So we'll still put them on in a fantastic venue, but we're going to house them in the UK for the time being. I'm not going to promise anything when I say this, but we've used the Grove and Hollandwell in the past, so it's not it's not going to be certainly a poor venue or anything. They're still going to get a good experience from it, and also you'll generally find from the 4 semi-finalists your MVP is predominantly going to come from there, so we can guarantee them also being there as part of the final from presentation purposes. I mean, I think so far we've had one year where an MVP, Connor from London, the London club, won it last year, and he wasn't part of the final. So it shows you even the guys how they're taking that in the series, and he's gone off to turn pro as well. But the MVP is good because it allows us to get a point system. So if we want to pick a side to play a county or play England or Scotland or whoever wants to play us, we'd like to be the Barbarians of the golf, really.
Well, I've just recorded with Scott Knowles recently. We need to get the Junior Ryder Cup team up
Oh,
against you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Or the Stevie Gallagher Foundation. There's another one. Give that a
Yeah.
shout out.
Well, I know Simon used to play with him. I said to Simon, I texted Simon the other day, Mackenzie, and he's not playing competitive golf, which from a talent point of view is what a waste, isn't it? But hopefully, we might spark a bit of interest getting back involved.
You could have somebody like a George McGregor who used to like beating the whole Scotland team when
Yeah,
he was meant to be there. Actually,
he
just been
did.
the
Yeah,
captain.
yeah, yeah. I used to see him down at Glencourse quite a bit actually, back in the
Yeah.
back when.
So, Alex, this has been brilliant. So, we've talked about the final, your new format. What about, so you talked about having the finals of the other competitions back here in the UK, but do you see any other developments in those competitions as you go forward? You mentioned potentially having 18 holes and stuff. What other ideas have you got in mind?
Well, when we spoke in the past, I mean, I think we're going to put our focus on these because we can see the growth in it now. I think it's settled down. We've tweaked it ever so slightly year on year. And the good thing is you're talking about good elite golfers again. They've given us feedback, and we never take it as criticism. It's always constructive. Everyone, if they're willing to talk to you, you've got to listen. If you listen to your audience, hopefully you'll get it right. And I hope a lot of them would agree that we do listen and we tweak it. We can't always give everyone what they want, but we keep tweaking it. I think that the foundation is the league, and if we can keep growing that, inevitably we know we get more reach. We can conversate with more individual players, which inevitably just grows every single event we've got. And then you can, if it gets big enough, Ross, you can easily regionalise it. So the growth factor is quite easy to consider as it grows anyway.
Brilliant. Well, listen, Alex, what about contact details if people are interested for themselves and individual stuff you've got potentially coming up, the other competitions, and ultimately the league? How would they get in touch? How would they find you? What's your social channels?
I'll give you the three best ways to do it, because the website is very useful for information, giving you a bit of history about it, and the entry forms are all there. So that's just www.eagg.co.uk. And then you've got our Instagram is Elite Amateur Golf. And then if you want to email me, it's just Alex, ALEX, @eagg.co.uk. Nice and simple.
Listen, thanks for coming on, Alex. It's been great to see you, and all the best for this season.
Pleasure. Nice to speak to you, and great to see you again, all right?
If you enjoyed this episode, please follow Link by Golf on your favourite podcast platform, leave a review and share it with someone who loves golf and people's journeys. You can also find the show on Instagram @LinkByGolf2024 for future episodes, clips and insights. I'm Ross McGuire. Thanks for listening.
Lomond Golf Tours have helped thousands of guests build bespoke golf trips to create a magical experience. Travel in style with our executive chauffeur travel, whether it's golf on a major championship venue or one of our hidden gems, 5-star accommodation or a boutique bed and breakfast, or is it whiskey tasting on a private boat? Lomond Golf Tours are here to help build the tour of a lifetime. Whether you're celebrating a special occasion or ticking it off your bucket list, embark on a trip that you'll remember forever. Visit www.lomondgolftours.com.